Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. It is Monday, May 20th. Luke, Ryan, and Cody with you here on a scheduled Cubs off day. We have our guy Joey running the ones and twos today. We've got mixed, what do we call it, smorgasbord? A little bit of a buffet for you today.
Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. We'll talk about the rough series against the Pirates here real quick, and then we also have Mailbag Monday. Ryan put in the Discord for those of you that are diehards in the Discord. Of course, I am one. Ryan is one. Cody is one. And a lot of you in the live YouTube chat are diehards in the Discord. We get some questions. So we're going to answer some questions or try to answer some questions, and you can answer the questions as well. Best way to enjoy the CHGO experience is to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube page. Make sure you go ahead and do that. Give us all the likes, the positive reviews, all those cool things. We appreciate that. But this was maybe not a surprising result to the weekend, but a brutal result to the weekend. I guess the only thing worse would have been being swept in a 4-game series against the Pirates, which was pretty close to happening. And it's bad because now here come the Braves.
Yeah. We said going into the series that like 3 or 4 felt winning 3 or 4 felt necessary. Like a sweep would obviously have been very good. You get the Pirates at home. You just had taken the series in Pittsburgh, like especially with where the Cubs were at. A sweep would have felt great, but like you felt like they needed to win at least 3 or 4, and like at minimum split wouldn't have been happy. People wouldn't have been happy about it, but a minimum of a split. But they obviously were not able to do that. The offense, you tweeted out I think yesterday, or there was 10 run or 2.5 runs average per game in the series, and 4.5 hits.
It was 4.5 hits.
Yeah.
Per game this series.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not
10 runs total.
Yeah, it was 4.5 hits, 2.5 runs per game, and like I get like Paul Skeens looked incredible on Friday, and like that's the triple digit consistent stuff plus the splinker. Like I get like that's a hard pitcher to hit. And I mean the Pirates have. Jones on Thursday was a good pitcher. Like Pirates have some good pitching. They're not like slouches in that category, but like it was just another kind of example of the way the offense is struggling to just put any consistent rallies together, just consistent games, and like the only game they won was a 1-0 walk-off, a controversial quote unquote
with 2 hits, right? Was it 2 hits in the game or 5?
It was
whatever.
It was very low, and then and it took Shota Imanaga being Shota Imanaga again to even keep them in that game. I mean, had he not done exactly what he did Saturday, they may have been swept. So it's like the offense just continues to not be able to get things done consistently, whereas the pitching staff, but we see it. The pitching staff has really carried this team the last few weeks and like has kept them from sinking. Like they're still in wild card position entering today. They're still above 500, so they're in a good spot as far as that goes. But it's like you're just wondering like how does this offense wake back up? Because we've seen it early in the season, the first 3 weeks or so. That offense was playing like one of the better offenses in baseball, but now for a longer stretch, they haven't been.
Yeah, it was the offense carrying and the pitching that was a little sus, and now it's flipped, right? Like, but to me, Cody, this is what, I like to harp on the 1-run games, and I don't know what they're up to, like 18 or something crazy now this year. This is what happens to mid-teams against great pitching. Mid-offenses is what I should say, because the pitching's been really good. When you have an average offense without a ton of superstars and obviously holes from injuries, big holes from injuries, this is what happens when you face Chris Sale. This is what happens when you face Skeens. This is what happens when you face Jones. You don't win very many ball games. Now, you can get by when you face a 4th or 5th starter on a team with an average offense with no superstars. But when you start facing the guys that you'll see in the playoffs, these are the type of results you can expect more often than not.
Yeah.
So
Here we go. Get ready for it.
before I say what I want to say, I'm going to step out for a second and remind people that on this day a year ago, the Cubs were 20-25 on the road at Philadelphia, in which they lost that series 2-3. So they ended that series 20-26. The Cubs are 26-22 now, a year later.
Yeah.
So, with some perspective, and I thought Corey and Brennen did really well with it, considering where the roster is at, considering the injuries. You didn't have Nico or Dansby all weekend. Hell, the last week.
All week, basically, yeah.
The last week you didn't have Nico or Dansby. I think you have to have some sort of perspective on where the team is at. Things could absolutely be a lot worse. They absolutely could be better, too, if you didn't blow some games. At the same time, you won some games you had no business winning, like Saturday, for example. You had no business winning on Saturday when you can't score off Bailey Falter. Are you kidding me, brother? Left-handed pitching, you're supposed to be a top 3 team in baseball offensively against left-handed pitching. Bailey Falter has one of the highest home runs per 9 or whatever it is in baseball, and you can't score off Bailey Falter? You had no business winning that game. You did not deserve to win that game, and you got through because the umpire called safe at home, and then they challenged it, and he was called, and it was confirmed or whatever. Because the guy dropped the ball. That's legitimately why they won the game. But you can't score off Bailey Falter. All right? Thank God they did. You had no business winning, but thank God you did. This is my frustration with the last week. All right? The bullpen has been awesome. The last week, the bullpen has been awesome.
It was Leiter and Nearest on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right?
Ben Brown.
Ben Brown was great yesterday. Listen, the first game of the week against the Braves, you lost 2-0. You didn't score runs, right? Second game, Tyone wasn't good. You got blown out. Third game, you won 7-1. You salvaged a series against the Braves. Third game, Steele wasn't great. Coming back from the hamstring injury, you scored some runs, but Steele wasn't good enough, and that's essentially why you lost, on top of your bad defense, all right? Friday, the Kyle Hendricks saga continues. Really didn't matter if your offense scored that day or not. You gave up, they lost 9-3?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time trying to forget that game. Saturday, like I just said, you can't score off Bailey Falter. I'm sorry. He's not Paul Skeens, he's not Jared Jones, and he's not Mitch Keller. All right, you should have scored runs off Bailey Falter. You absolutely should have. I'm not trying to take anything away from him in the way that he performed, because I will give him this. It wasn't like the Cubs were hitting rockets off him like they did when they were in Pittsburgh and they were all into gloves. Legitimately, that's what happened in Pittsburgh when they faced Bailey Falter. On Saturday, they did nothing against him, just like weak fly balls, ground balls, and he's a fly ball pitcher. They hit multiple ground balls against this guy. The offense looked terrible on Saturday. And then yesterday, Mitch Keller, I thought Mitch Keller was an all-star for them last year. He's good. I thought that they were able to at least work some decent at-bats against him, but he's good. But at the end of the day, though, when you can't get any consistency at all, if you aren't getting guys on base to put guys in position to score runs, you aren't going to score runs. But again, my frustration is the fact that the bullpen was actually good this week. The bullpen was great yesterday. The bullpen was good on Saturday. If Nearest and Leiter don't do what they do on Saturday, they probably lose that game because they won 1-0. Okay,
exactly. It was all pitching staff.
So that's when people I think a lot of fans right now are very upset and not really looking at it from the perspective of how I started this, because the offense is giving everyone PTSD from what September looked like last year. That is what the offense this last week has looked like. Honestly, this offense has kind of looked like that for the last month, honestly. Ever since they got back from the West Coast road trip, Michael Busch has really cooled down. He's going through the ups and downs of being a rookie. I'm trying to have some patience with him because that's what you have to do with rookies. Obviously, Swanson, when he was healthy, wasn't hitting. Ian Happ is off to a terrible start. He has not been good. We're sitting here we're going to talk about Brennen Davis at some point. The guy had a hot week. Hell, a week before that, we were thinking this guy could be trade bait, if at best. And now we're like, call him up. You know, I'm excited about Luis Vasquez. Are you kidding me, brother? Like, there's so many things about the team right now that frustrates me. And it all pinpoints back to everything that I said at the beginning of the season that I was most worried about, and that is the offense. They never went and got another bat. And I don't want to look back on what you did and didn't do in the offseason, all these things. But I did say on opening day or the day before opening day, whatever it was, I said, if this team doesn't make the playoffs, then I'm going to be calling for names. And this is on Jed Hoyer for doing exactly what Luke said. Put together a mid-offense. They have a 100 weighted runs created plus as a team. On May 20th, they are a league average offense. Did they outperform their offensive expectations the first 2-3 weeks of the season? Probably. They probably did. And their pitching has been a lot better, as I thought it would be. All right? But the offense has always been the biggest question for me on this team. Should it be better? Yes. Of course, you can't play Miles Mastrobuoni and Nick Madrigal every single day if you plan on having a good offense. So in some aspects, again, when you take a step back and look at what you're putting out there, yes, the offense will probably be better than what we've seen this last week. That said, you also could have put Morel over at second base and put Busch at third, or put Busch at second because he had more career games at second base before coming to the Cubs, and putting Bellinger at first base and putting Tauchman in center. Or PCA, you had options. You did not have to play Nick Madrigal and Miles Mastrobuoni every single day the last week. And then also, Nico Hoerner, why in that? I swear to God, if Nico Hoerner is going on the injured list tomorrow or whenever they announce it, I'm going to be very angry. The fact that you played one man down. This is the major league team, bro. You played one man down, and every single day you're like, oh, he's feeling good. He's feeling good. We think he can play tomorrow. Bro, it's been a week. It's been a week.
Bro, what birthday better? Was this? Did you say
I don't feel any better.
Was it 33 or 34 this weekend?
33.
One thing that I have learned is that even at 33, Cody still has fire.
Still got fire.
Still got fire in the belly.
You can, with the usage of the injured list and injuries and stuff, you can date this shit back all the way to when Chris Bryant first hurt his shoulder in 2018, bro. You can date it all the way back to the way they handled that, all the times that he played through those injuries whenever he clearly wasn't okay. All right? They mismanaged Dansby Swanson in however way you want to put it, right? And then they finally put him on the injured list. And now they're doing the opposite with Nico Hoerner and sitting him, but not putting him on the injured list, and you're playing a man down. Make it make sense to me. None of it makes sense to me. That's the thing, is none of it will make sense to me. You could have called up Luis Vasquez. You have the second best farm system in baseball. Use it. If you're not going to spend money, use your farm system, bro. God, none of it makes sense to me, man. None of it makes sense.
Cody brought the rain. It is raining really hard now.
Well, now he rode his bike, too. When it rains, it pours for Cody. He rode his bike, and it's a monsoon outside at the moment.
Please remember what I said at the beginning about perspective, all right? The team is significantly better right now than it was at this exact time a year ago, all right? But at the same time, I have frustrations. I'm significantly annoyed with the roster management over the last week when you could have just put Nico Hoerner on the injured list and called up Luis Vasquez to at least come up and play competent defense, something the Cubs middle infield hasn't done the last week, or at least over the weekend. All right.
Both things can be true, though, right?
Yes.
The first thing is absolutely true. They're still on pace to be 500 potentially by Memorial Day, and they're better off than they were last year. And the other can be true. This weekend, they had 4 automatic outs in their lineup.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That's a fact.
I get Cody's frustration, and because the injured list stuff is frustrating, and you always think of the balances can we get him back in 6 days or 7 days, whatever it be, versus 10? especially when you're down Dansby Swanson already. Like I get all that, and like it. I expected if they were gonna not have him out or not have him till like Nico till Tuesday, that like I felt like there was a little more likely they would just put him on the IL over the weekend versus waiting till Tuesday. Obviously, they took a different route, but it's that balance of can you last without Nico for 4 days versus having to wait another 7 to get him back. Clearly, like the offense didn't look like it was, and there was obviously some plays in defensively that we saw either with Mastrobuoni or Madrigal over the weekend that ended up costing them. I think was it Friday the double play they didn't turn that ended up in a home run the next at bat, right?
Yeah, no, it's Thursday. The steal start
was it Thursday? Okay, yeah. So like there's clearly when you go past it, they were not able to make up for not having Nico Horner on the bench. Now, one thing I look at it is like if you're bringing someone up, he's your 26th man on the bench. Like, does he make that much of a difference? I don't know. Like, was it if Luis Vasquez came up? Like, Counsell even said maybe Thursday or Friday, like when I think Luis Vasquez had played third base for Iowa, and he was asked about that, and it was kind of like if he's going to come up, it's going to be in like a utility role. So, like, would Luis Vasquez have made a big difference and turned some of those losses into wins over the last 4 or 5 days? I don't know.
I don't know. Might have turned double play.
I would probably lean towards probably not, but I mean, you could, anything can happen. Anyone can surprise us, but no. But what my main point is, like, I get the frustrations because you're a few games back now, or you've passed those few games, and things didn't work out, and it was a bad weekend.
The airing of grievances will continue shortly, as will our mailbag, which will have more airing of grievances. But first, good news, something positive. Make Ray Chevrolet your first draft pick for your new Chevy this May. Visit our partner right now during their Memorial Day sales event going on all month long at Ray Chevy on Route 12 in Fox Lake, and RayChevrolet.com is one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. You're always able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Plus, you'll find the perfect tailgate vehicle right now. Get $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2024 Chevrolet Silverado, or lease the new 2024 Chevy Trax for only $199 a month for 36 months. Or celebrate Memorial Day your way and shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. You heard me right. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you know all about the Ray Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about right now, you can expect to see the very same prices when you shop Ray Chevy in-store or online. Shop the Memorial Day sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or RayChevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
You know what did make me feel, or does make me feel better? It's going to make me feel better tomorrow. It's
winning
Prize
money.
Picks.
Yeah, winning
money on Prize Picks, all right? I took yesterday off. I'm not going to make any entries today. Tomorrow is the beginning of the rest of my life when I start making money on Prize Picks. All right. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season is officially underway, and there's no better way to cash in on the action than with Prize Picks. Add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Picks lineups all season long, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks lineup today. You might as well take every single player for the Cubs to go less on hits because this offense stinks right now, brother. All right? That's how you win money. I've been putting them to go more than. That's why I'm losing money, because they don't know how to hit. There's your personal experience of my recent Prize Picks entries.
That was the Hulkamaniac, brother.
Hulkamaniac, brother.
I'm so frustrated with the Cubs offense right now. However,
when the brothers come out,
where's Lady Elizabeth, brother?
you want some more than put more than on Shota Yamanaga's strikeouts, all right, or the opposing pitcher, whoever's going up against the Cubs offense, strikeouts, all right. You can do it all on Prize Picks, man. You have to. I think the rule is you have to do 2 different players for, like, say the Cubs, and then the Braves are coming to town. Then you 2 different players for the Braves. You can't just do an all Cubs one. I've tried many times. They won't let me. I always forget. So you have to do 2 different teams.
And it's awful because the Braves have some good players.
Yeah. So I feel like Ozzie Albies is a massive Cubs killer. Just throw him in there. Everything. I is whatever you want to do. All right. Do it. Before you do it, though, download the app today and use code CHGO for your first deposit match up to $100. That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right, let's get to the Monday mailbag. And I'm sure a lot of these questions will not be
Can I reply?
Do you want to rant?
Like,
Oh, you wanted to rant?
I don't have any more rants. I just in relation to what Ryan was saying though about the roster and everything. Do I think Luis Vazquez was going to make the Cubs split the series or win the series? Not necessarily. It goes back to what I said earlier. They could have easily played Christopher Morel at second base over the weekend, or Michael Busch at second base because he has experience playing there. But they purposely put Nick Madrigal and Miles Mastrobuoni out there up the middle again, over and over. And I know, like, and it's largely a joke, but like, I think Mastrobuoni is a very, very fine utility player, but he is not a guy that you can play every single day. As much as I will stand the guy, he is not a guy that you can play every single day. And as much as I love to shit on Nick Madrigal, I realize that there is value with him too, with the bat-to-ball skills, and he's an improved defensive player at third base. But the offense for both of them just hasn't been there. So for them to continuously put them out there when you have guys on the roster that you could have played in those positions. At the very least, you could have put Morel at shortstop and put Mastrobuoni at second base. Or put Morel at second base and put Busch at third because he has experience at third. Or Patrick Wisdom. All right? Like, they have guys that they could have played in those positions that at least have been more productive offensively than Madrigal or Mastrobuoni. And that's my biggest frustration, because all of the slander and the venting about Mastrobuoni and Madrigal, it's like yelling at a wall. We know what they are. They are utility players at best. They are fringe major leaguers. We know this. It doesn't take like a rocket scientist to know this, bro. So like, the fact that they continue to do it all week when you have guys who have experience at short and second base, given the situation with Nico and Dansby out, blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like, I get it for a game or two, but you did it for an entire week, and they really didn't give you anything offensively at all.
And it wasn't a good week.
All right,
Monday
now I'm
mailbag.
done.
Let's start with our guy, Gary Ross. These were questions submitted in the Discord, which, again, if you're a diehard, it's one of the benefits. You can just hang out and ask questions, everybody, all the time. Oh, yeah. So this morning, Ryan put in there, anybody got a question for the show? Here are some of the questions. Gary Ross, when are we going to call up? Nope, that's not this one. He's been traded.
Hey, your guy.
I needed the laugh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My guy, Gary Ross, asks, besides Vazquez, who we're hearing is going to be called up and is already in town, would you like to see provide some energy to either the pitching staff or position player? And then his second question is, what will it take to get Michael Busch back on track and look like he did at the beginning of the season? I think these two questions by Gary can be combined into one answer. Brennen Davis, why not? And you're going to say, well, Brennen Davis doesn't play first base. Brennen Davis, how's he going to help Busch? Let's go ahead and just give Michael Busch the best matchups possible right now to get him back on track offensively. How do you do that? Let Cody Bellinger start playing some at first base. That opens up another spot in the outfield, so you can keep PCA on the roster. But now you can also start filtering in an occasional Brennen Davis, and you can have Seiya DHing some, and you can even have Happ DHing some. Now, obviously, he's a problem offensively too, or you can sit him for more games, but that didn't work the first time around. I just think when you have a guy who was a top 16 prospect in baseball at one point and is now, because of injuries for multiple years, is now down to like 30-something on the Cubs. What is he, 23rd ranked prospect for the Cubs? But he's only 24 years old. And he just went on a stretch where you would look and say, man, could we use that guy? Because at one point, Brennen Davis was a can't-miss prospect for the Cubs. He was him, as they like to say, the kids, I believe. He's him. That's him. That's the guy right there. Not sus, not mid. He was the prospect. Before there was PCA, there was Brennen Davis. And then injuries came along, some of them strange. He's still 24, and he is tearing up AAA. Small sample size? Sure, but why not bring it up for a little glance, see if that can translate to the major league level for a little bit. Give him a shot. You need some spark. You just asked for a spark. Why not? Yeah. Not just Vasquez. Give me Vasquez and Brennen Davis tomorrow.
For me, as far as the question that Gary's asking, I think Vasquez is going to at least give you for sure above average defense, which is something that the Cubs struggle with over the weekend up the middle, right? As far as Busch, this is the problem when you, as much as I love the trade for Busch and for Almonte, because I still firmly believe that Michael Busch is the future at first base for this organization. However, rookie, the league has adjusted. He has to now adjust, and he's whiffing a ton right now. He's missing fastballs in the zone, right? Yeah. I don't know if he needs the 2-day break that Ian Happ got. I do know this. He can't face lefties right now, right? But this is the problem when you, instead of, I don't know who they could have signed. I don't know who whatever.
Doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't matter at this point. And so far, Michael Busch has been, at this point, everything you could have hoped for when you branch out the microscope, right? Or you don't zoom in, you zoom out, right? But obviously, yeah, he's struggling right now. What's it going to take to get him back? I think matchups for sure, and just facing right-handed pitching. He has been everything the Cubs could have asked for, but yeah, he's struggling right now. And it's not just been for the last week. He's been struggling, honestly, since they got back from the road trip on the West Coast. And the strikeouts are high for him right now. He's striking out like 40% of his play appearances since coming back from the West Coast road trip, all right? That's bad. That's worse than Patrick Wisdom, okay? So you gotta find a way. He's got to find a way to adjust adjust back with the league or whatever, because that's A, what good players do, and B, the only way that he's going to continue to get chances. So I hate saying it, but he has to figure it out, because that's just the fact of the matter. That's where the roster is. This is what the Cubs gave us. Yeah. This goes back to what I was saying about how they should have added another bat, but again, we are where we're at. It's May 20th. You're 26 and 22, so fine. But to me, he's got to get it going at least against right-handed pitching, because he's been awful against lefties. He hit that walk-off home run 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, and thank God he did. But he just simply hasn't been very good the last month. And to me, as a fan, I think you just have to look at it as he's a rookie, and rookies go through ups and downs, man. Yeah. Anthony Rizzo did the same thing.
Yeah, when you talk about the league adjusting, just looking at the numbers, between April and now May, he's getting more fastballs, and obviously he's I think high fastballs is kind of one of the things where he's not been hitting very well. He's whiffing 38.7% on fastballs versus when it was 22.1% in April. But I think that one of the biggest changes is he's seeing a lot less off-speed pitches, where in April he had a 417 weighted on base average against off-speed pitches. He was whiffing a little bit higher, but when he was making contact, he was obviously doing damage with it. And that was as far as the fastball he did pretty well against in April, but the off-speed he was even better against. He's seeing a lot more breaking balls in this month than he did in April. That's kind of the change you're seeing. And he's whiffing at breaking pitches 47.4% of the time. Weighted on base average is 271, but expected weighted on base average is 186. It's just like you're seeing the league, like pitchers specifically adjusting how they throw to him, the sequencing they throw to him, where in the zone they're trying to throw. Like you're seeing the adjustments from the pitchers, and I think Cody's, that's a good point. It's just like he's a rookie. He's first like real big opportunity, long extended opportunity in the major leagues, and pitching is going to adjust. Like major leaguers are going to adjust because they have all this data, all these resources. They're going to figure out where your weaknesses are, and they're going to adjust to you, and it's up to you to be able to adjust back. And obviously the hitting coaches are part of that, and all the data they have. Like that's going to be part of it. So I do think it is just Michael Busch really getting acclimated to the major league game, and it's taking a little bit. I mean, you mentioned the end of the West Coast road trip. I mean, you even take a couple games into Arizona. The end of that home run streak, he's striking out 40.4% of the time. He's only walking 10% of the time, which is okay, but you definitely want that to be higher. He's hitting 200, 284 on base, 305 slugging, 72 WRC plus. So the league has made their adjustments, and you're seeing that in the numbers as far as why he just hasn't been able to consistently make the adjustments back. He's had some good games mixed in there. You mentioned the walk-off home run. He's gotten some flashes of he's maybe figured it out, but he hasn't been able to do it consistent enough. And I think that's just it for Michael Busch. He just got to adjust.
I think when you're walking 10% of your play appearances, that's good.
It is good, but you want it to be higher. Well, you want it to be higher, or at least the strikeout rate much lower than where it's at.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Right. But the big thing is, even though he's walking at a decent clip, considering where the Cubs are putting him in the lineup, him walking doesn't necessarily even help the team either, because the guys in the middle of the order just aren't producing. Him and Ian Happ have been hitting 5th or 6th or 6th, 7th, somewhere in the middle of that lineup. Sometimes there were, before Say and Bellinger were back, they were 3-4 at times. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the last month. So even though he's walking at a decent clip, he's got to also be a run producer too, especially for the position that he's playing at first base. And when he's not at first base, he's DHing. So we talk about the struggles with Mervis and why he had no value. It's because he's not slugging. So you can say that about Busch right now too.
Yeah. Speaking of Busch, Stolaparisi says the homer streak is the best and worst thing to happen to him. Was like squeezing the bat with the team as a whole wasn't hitting. Interesting idea. More questions from the mailbag coming up. First, I want to tell you about Blue Moon. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together. No beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. The natural choice all season long. Oh, man, the weather this weekend was true summertime shy. From Friday to Saturday to Sunday, it was spectacular. Give me a Blue Moon. That's what it screamed at me. Nothing beats watching baseball or lounging by the pool or sitting by the lake with an ice-cold Blue Moon and an orange. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for the season. A beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all season long, all summer long. Bring it to the ballpark. Bring it to you. Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's getbluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Oh,
there we go. Vinny
thank you, Vinny, with the authentic.
What was the 3rd or 4th Friday 120 Club on Friday?
4th.
Yeah.
So even though the game obviously didn't go the way you wanted, you can say the weather was magnificent on Friday.
Oh, yeah, the weather was awesome. I was also at the game on Sunday too, and the weather was awesome.
Weather all year round. So weather all weekend long. The weather was great. Summer's here. Baseball obviously is getting the thick of summer, and the weather's going to be great at Wrigley Field. And if you want to go to a Cubs game, you got to use Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. One of my favorite features, and I talked about this last time, like the Game Time actually gives you your seat view. So if you've never been to a venue, you can click on it and it'll show you exactly what you're looking at and where you're looking at it from. I've talked about the concert in September I want to go to, CHGO. They had that long discussion about EDM music.
Yeah, big EDM fan.
But it's at a venue that I've never been to. And so if
Stucky was actually just saying he wanted to go to that too.
Yeah, so but it's a venue I've never been to, so I was looking through the tickets and I was clicking on them just to see exactly what my view from each seat would be if I were to go to.
I thought you were going to Edmonton. It turns out EDM is a concert.
But yeah, so I think that's my favorite part of Game Time is getting that seat view because you're always gonna be able to expect what your view is gonna be because they give you that option. Other things about Game Time I love, they got the last minute deals. They have 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They got flash deals, so you save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Their zone deals help you save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. And they give you the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Oh, breaking news. Becky has ants in her pantry on the live YouTube chat.
Corey was telling me about how he had ants.
Ants, the other problem.
At his place, too.
And cicadas. Don't even look at the internet right now. Listen,
away.
it would take a cicada invasion. If people in the chat were asking, where's David Bodie? It would take a cicada invasion to carry away 3 or 4 players for that to happen. If it hasn't happened yet for David Bodie, with having both middle infield guys out, I don't think it's happening. That's my take on that. Let's get through some of these questions faster because we got a lot of them, and we want to get to as many as we can. So Vanilla Chill asks, what is your cutoff point if Ian Happ's struggles continue to happen? Is it after the All-Star break? Is it early August? I don't know what solution you're saying, though, Vanilla Chill. I don't know.
Yeah,
cutoff point for what? Like, what are you going to do with him if you cut him off?
Are you benching? I mean, I would assume it's benching because you can't option him. They're not going to cut him.
You're just going to have him sit there and not play, right?
That would seem to be the solution Vanilla Chill's asking about.
Okay, so what would your cutoff point be to do that again?
I mean, if he continues to struggle like this, for me, it would probably be early August, just because, and I'm saying this because I know the Cubs are going to play this out like a lot longer, and he has a track record of proving that he will come out of this. You know, he did hit a homer in this series against the Pirates. I thought maybe he was starting to come out of it, but you know, things didn't.
Yeah, he's 0 for since.
Yeah, 0 for since the homer.
Yeah.
So
I believe.
I don't know. Like, it's.
Well, I said he pulled it.
There's just.
I don't love it when he's pulling everything, trying to pull everything, which is the way it looks sometimes.
And also, the K rate is higher than it's been the last 2 years. He's striking out like 28% of his plate appearances. The last 2 years where he changed his approach completely as more of a contact professional type hitter was more around league average, 22, 23%. I think league average is actually like 21%. So whatever. But the K rate is way too high for someone like him who is trying to do what he's trying to do, which is not he hasn't been a power hitter since, you know, when the core was still here. No. You know what I mean? So I hope things start to turn around. It's so bad for him that on-base streak finally ended for him this weekend.
You know what, Ryan? One thing that bothers me about that's frustrating about Happ's struggles, and then he's streaky. He's streaky almost to the level it feels like of a Soriano or a Morel, where it's up and down and up and down. But he's not the home run guy that they are. No. So you would think a guy that's not a home run guy would have way shorter peaks and valleys than Ian Happ does, but it does seem like he's almost like a slugger kind of going through those peaks and valleys.
Yeah, and like he has been a streaky hitter. We've seen it throughout his career. I look at it and it's more than a streak right now, because you go back, he had a great first 10 games where like he started off so hot, he was looking like, you know, at the top of the lineup, he was getting on base behind guys. He was one of the biggest contributors to that offense being as good as it was for the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season.
Right.
But I looking back at it after those first 10 games, so his last 33 stretching back to April 9th, he's still got a 12.8% walk rate, which is very good in baseball and helps him as far as the on base goes, because that's what he's good at, is getting on base, or he's been good at in the past, is getting on base. And that's what he showed. You mentioned him kind of changing who he was as a hitter the last couple of years. That was a very big improvement, was just he'd become a very reliable on base guy. So he's still walking at a solid rate. His strikeout rate is 33% in those 33 games. And that's where you see it, I think, take the biggest hit. And as far as the on base goes, because in that stretch, his on base is only 275, which is far lower than where he's been over the last couple of years with the
and
Cubs.
well below league average.
Yeah. So and then he got a 53 WRC plus overall. So and he's only hitting 151 if you still love average. It's and then the ISO is .065, so there's just not a lot of extra base power in his game. And so I say it's more than a streak right now, because like you not completely expect the streaks from Ian Happ, but when it does happen, you're like, okay, like he'll get out of it, right? It's been longer than a streak to me. Yep. And so, and I mean, he's talked about it. He's talked about being in between. Craig Counsell's talked about it. They tried to give him that break, hoping that things would would be a beneficial reset for him. But even Craig Counsell said when he was added back to the lineup that there's no guarantee this is what fixes you. And we've seen it. Like, he hit the home run in his first at-bat. It was a great sign, but he hasn't really done anything since, as far as, I think he's walked a few times, but I don't believe he's gotten a hit in the however many at-bats since. So it is to a point where you're like, how can they get him out of this? You can't just rely on him to get out of that streak and get back to being what Ian Happ has been as a hitter the last few years. Like, how do you get him out of it? A 2-game break clearly hasn't resulted in much outside of the home run. Does he need more off days? Do you need to start figuring out how to platoon him? Do you need to just get him into more matchup based, not full-time long-term thing, but does maybe a little more matchup based approach to just get his confidence back and seeing the ball better? Does that need to happen? Like, I don't know what the answer is, and that's obviously something that Craig Counsell and the hitting group are going to have to figure out. But it has been like it's been more than a stretch for him. So sorry, to answer the question from Vanilla Chill, like I don't think there's a cutoff date, because they're going to continue to try to get him right, and he's getting paid a lot of money. He's too important to this lineup that they're going to continue to give ways or find ways, and whether that's breaks or whatever it is, to try to get him right, because he matters in that lineup.
And that's why I said sometime in August, because say the team is, despite his struggles, is, still in the same position. They are in the second wild card spot as we go into today, and they'd be in the playoffs if the playoffs started tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. If they're quote unquote in the playoff race, in the playoffs, and you're getting contributions, say PCA really takes off, say Tauchman is putting together the best season of his career still, like all these things with Seiya and Belly still being who they are. I think by then, the Cubs would probably they're not going to remove him for the team, but I think he'd be more so I think his playing time would be cut down a little bit for sure. So, but I won't be surprised if that don't happen either in terms of like what that prediction. It's more of a, like, I agree more so with what Ryan's saying. Like, last time they did something like that was Tyler Chatwood in like 2019 or 2018 or whatever.
I don't think that's happening.
And that's a pitcher. It's different than a position player. Mm-hmm. So I think that they will treat him differently, unfortunately. As much as – and the thing is like, I still believe that he's going to get it going. But, yeah, he's been a frustrating player right now. He doesn't deserve to play as much as if anyone in the outfield, he doesn't deserve to play as much as anyone else. He's taking away at bats from PCA. Now, PCA, you might be getting the best production out of him and given the role right now, because it's not like he deserved to be called up. He's just outperformed anything we expected. But, I don't know.
Friend of the show, a loyal viewer and listener, DFW Susie down in Texas asks, how much is the bleak offensive production of both Amaya and Gomes hurting us versus their defensive contributions? Do you see that being a spot for the Cubs to focus on coming up, especially given Gomes' age, which I believe is 37? Coming up is the key part of that question.
Yeah.
If you mean off-season, it has to be. If you mean this season, my problem is with defensive contributions, because you want the catchers to give you multiple things. I understand that you don't want just one or the other, right? So they give you you can't say that the pitching staff hasn't been great. The rotation has been great, and I give those two guys for calling the games. You have to give them some credit for it. That's the path the Cubs chose, was we're going to go with the defensive-minded catcher, as Susie has suggested. That's why one of the reasons they walked away from Wilson Contreras. They thought these guys could call a better game. Now, neither one of them can throw as well as Wilson Contreras has at the major league level, in my eyes. And that's been one of the other, if they were calling a good game and they were keeping base runners at bay, and those were two things they were doing, you wouldn't feel as bad about the hole in the lineup, because the hole in the lineup offensively has been worse than I think most people even projected.
Yeah.
For me, it's also they're getting run on all over the ballpark, and that's not helping either. So at least they could make me feel a little bit better by doing a better job of throwing some guys out, stealing, but they can't even do that right now. And so I think it's got to be pretty soon.
I think it's that. I think obviously there's no or I don't know if there's a stat that tracks how the pitchers hold runners on as well. That all plays a part of it.
Sure,
so I don't know how much of it is just specifically Amaya or Gomes, how much of it is the pitchers not doing a great job of keeping them on, but that is an issue.
And Ryan, how much credit do you give them for what Imanaga has done? How much credit do you give them for what Assad has done? Yada, yada, yada.
And I do give them credit for that, because every time you ask the pitchers, they always talk about how well Amaya or Gomes, they come in with a good game plan, they call a good game, they do all this soft factors that you can't really measure with anything. They always talk about that, and it's true. And that's when you mentioned why they went away from Wilson Contreras. That is the point, is they really wanted catchers that solid defensive catchers that worked well with the pitching staff, could handle all of it, and that's what they got defensively with Amaya and Gomes. So to Susie's point, to Susie's question, yes, in general, them not hitting very well. Miguel Amaya has a 52 WRC plus right now. Yan Gomes is a 32. Them not hitting well creates a hole in the Cubs lineup, because that at this point it just looks like an automatic out more often than not. But the question should be how much does that balance, or does what they do defensively as far as working with the pitching staff and I think helping getting the best out of Imanaga and helping get the best out of Javier Assad, does that balance out what they do offensively? I mean, I guess that's maybe up to your interpretation, but I will say, in a general sense, their struggles combined offensively does hurt the lineup, because that's two hitters that you can't really trust to move hitters over or get on base, or just overall contribute to the lineup right now, because they are struggling.
I think that if I'm personally okay with a hole in the lineup at catcher if they're doing the job of a great job with the starting rotation. The problem is then you've got to fill the other holes in the lineup,
exactly,
because you can't afford to have four of them. That's the big problem. Go ahead.
I was just going to bring up these stats, and now Ryan might understand these a little bit more than I do. But
are these Delmetrics or?
No, these are on Baseball Savant. Credit to me for using it. Okay.
Fancy.
So catcher framing runs on Baseball Savant. Yan Gomes is dead last at -3 for the season, which is bad, right?
Right.
He's also at the
so
bottom.
So he's just calling a good game right now.
Well, he's also at the bottom of the league, or second to last in strike rate at 38.8%. The leader is at 52%, 52.9%. Now, as far as Amaya, he's better. His strike rate calls are 46.3%, which is around the middle of the league. And his catcher framing runs stat, he is at 0, which is there's a lot of catchers with 0. So like the best in the league is 4 for Jose Trevino, and then it just goes down from there. So as far as like those types of things, Amaya is like right in the middle of the pack, it looks like, and Gomes is at the very bottom of the league. And like to me, Gomes being at the very bottom of the league and those things is really surprising, because that's why
he's around.
That's why he's around. And at the same time, though, yeah, he's going to be 37 in like July. All right, so it's a very like.
Is it just the age?
Yeah, like is it just because he's older?
I heard Corey say that his swing rate,
the offense obviously
is so much slower than it has been. So offensively, I think I think everybody expected a decline from his offensive side last year.
Yeah, everything they got from him offensively last year was a massive bonus, and that's why, all the frustrations about not making the playoffs were a big thing. But
and I will say with Amaya, his pop time is 14th percentile, which when we're talking about base running and holding base runners and getting steals, like obviously like not having a very good pop time, because those are split second things a lot of times as far as getting guys out, whether at a second or at third. A lot of times you're seeing like split second, like an inch or two away. And so those pop times matter. And clearly, as far as pop time, it's not anywhere close to the best in the league. It's well below average. So that defensively, like there's definitely, you can see with a measurable stat, part of the reason why he's just, it feels like the base running aspect of it with Amaya, he's just not throwing guys out. Right. And that definitely plays a part in that pop time.
Okay, we're going to try and get to 3 more questions and then this day in Cubs history. But first, real quick, just a quick grade. Radio Maverick wants to know what grade we would give Craig Counsell so far this season. Cody, do you have a grade for Big Counts?
I'd so far still give him an A, because you're 26 and 22 given all the injuries. Does that mean that he hasn't frustrated me? Does that mean that there's some moves that or some decisions he's made that I don't like? For sure. Like, he hasn't been perfect, but you're 26 and 22 and everyone in the YouTube chat, probably the Discord, everyone on Cubs Twitter is acting like the season is over. I think he deserves some credit for keeping this team together, and I would have said the same thing if it was David Ross. So I think my biggest thing that's annoyed me with him is probably the fact that, I get the lineup, but like
sometimes he doesn't have much of an option.
Right.
Well, that was always the excuse for David Ross, and
that leads me to Jed. So I guess with the lineup, I don't understand ever batting Patrick Wisdom leadoff, and he did that on Friday. You know what I mean? Or maybe it was Saturday. Whatever. Like, I don't get that. I understand the idea behind it, but I don't necessarily like that. All right. And then, like, as far as pitching, bullpen, stuff like that, he's had some games where the bullpen decisions he has made has led to a loss. Is that on the bullpen, like the pitchers not being good, or is that on him on the decision making? I don't know. It's always going to be hard to grade a manager, but at the end of the day, it comes down to wins and losses. And again, they'd be in the playoffs if the playoffs started tomorrow. So how can I not give him an A?
So what do you give him, Ryan?
Yeah, probably like the A- range. Honestly, like, I mean, even an A, like just right around there. They're like Cody said, they're 26 and 22. They're above 500. They're in wild card position. They've had 16 guys, I think, hit the IL, especially major contributors like Seiya Suzuki for was it a month? It was about
at least
a month,
2 to 3
like
weeks. Yeah.
So you lost him for a lot. You lost Bellinger for 2 weeks, I think it was. Like, Dansby's out, and he's been playing hurt and whatever.
Tyone.
Like, Tyone started the year on the IL. Steele missed a month. Like, you have all that. You have the offense that is just not performing the last few weeks. You had a bullpen that was just so volatile for a while that Adbert Alzolay went from a emerging closer in 2023 to you can't even pitch him in high leverage situations. You have all that going on, and the Cubs are still solidly in wild card position with they're four games above 500, a solid record. I think they're only 2 games back of the Brewers in the division, which the Brewers are surprising us a lot too. So even the fact that the Cubs are going through all this and only a couple games back speaks to that. I can't. I think I'm at an A just thinking about it, as far as like he's done I don't know how much better of a job he could have done with what's happened with the team, with the day-to-day, who's available, who's not. Is this reliever going to be trustworthy or not? Because really, outside of Mark Leiter Jr., you haven't had anyone else consistently reliable in that bullpen. So I do think about an A for Counsell right now because of this team, keeping the team together, overcoming all the crap that's gone on in the first month and a half. I think he does deserve credit for that. And it's not, the players have to ultimately win and lose games at the end of the day. But I do think Craig Counsell has done a good job of putting a lot of these guys in the best position to succeed, whether it's Patrick Wisdom, who we've talked about, like he's very good in more specific matchup based than playing every day. So even when people were yelling to play him every day, he wasn't, Counsell wasn't putting him in there every day, right? PCA, more matchup based stuff, making sure he's available defensively for late games and stuff like that. He has made
base running.
He's definitely made some mistakes, but all managers do. And so, yeah, I think overall, yeah, I'm with that.
I'll be a little more harsh. I'll give him a B for this reason. When he was in Milwaukee, this is the type of garbage he turned into a first place team. Like all the injuries, they'd be running out lineups. You'd be like, how are they losing to this team? And somehow he was finding a way to put the right guy in the right time. That doesn't mean he couldn't be an A by the end of the month. I think if he gets to 500 by Memorial Day, then I would up that to an A. But right now,
they're over 500, Luke.
Yeah.
I'm
saying by Memorial Day, if he's still there.
Okay.
Because I think we're trending down towards the 500 mark pretty quickly. And people ask, somebody in the chat said, there's no room for Brennen Davis. That's why we got this guy as the manager, because he should be the Harry Potter that's just waving the wand and making the right choice every single day for $8 million a year as a manager. It's a lot of money to pay a manager.
Yeah.
And it's a place where they can overspend, and they did, and I don't have any problem with it. He's kept them afloat. I have even higher expectations for the highest paid manager in baseball. Yeah. So I'll say B, which I would have taken any day in school, and it still could be an A. I don't have any problem with really what he's done.
Yeah.
To go with
he
that,
is only, like I said, 2 games back of 500.
Yes,
or back of first place, too. So,
still a B.
I'm just saying, your point of, he turns his teams into first place teams, they're right there.
Yeah,
they're not 5 games back. They're
right there, but they just lost 3 out of the 4 of the Pirates that could have been
that's fair.
very easily taken care of. All right, Michael Evans asks, who are the players you would like to see in a Cubs uniform but never did? Could be a fun top 10. I won't go 10. Ohtani would be at the top of that list because he just keeps hitting home runs.
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper's in a top 10.
Manny
Juan
Machado.
Soto.
I always wanted to see Lindor play for the Cubs.
Who?
Lindor.
Javi's best friend.
After the World Series. And
Yeah,
when they
that
had
would have been
Javi.
good.
That's what I always thought that would have been a lot of fun.
Well, Verlander's one
Verlander.
I would like to go back and see if they can make that happen again.
Juan Soto is my number 1 pick.
All those guys like Ohtani right now, in recency bias, I go back further. Every time I watch Joey Votto with the Reds, I'm like, man, if Rizzo moves on, that's the guy I would love to see playing first base. He would, you know what I mean? To have a Rizzo or a Freddie Freeman or Votto, one of those 3, I'd love to see that again.
Freddie Freeman was also, when he was a free agent, the Cubs easily could have paid him. I don't know if he was interested in the Cubs, but I mean, I listed Bryce Harper because he was clearly interested in Chicago.
Aaron Judge?
I don't think Aaron Judge was ever interested in Chicago. The Cubs offered Ohtani well over $500 million, and he still said no. So whatever. But again,
Yamamoto.
He was.
Well, they got Imanaga.
Sure. They did.
Who's been better?
A lot cheaper, but I wouldn't mind both.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I mean, this is just going to turn me into
it's gonna
just
make
sitting
us
here
sick.
ranting about the front office. And there's plenty of things to bitch about the front office right now.
Well, seeing Alfonso Soriano in a Cubs uniform was great.
That was cool. One last question, real quick, and then I want to do this day in Cubs history. Jordan Wicks comes back. Where does he slot in the rotation? The question is, if they don't move on from Hendricks, is that we mentioned this quickly the other day. Is it AAA to be stretched out? Does he lose his spot and go to AAA when he gets healthy, or does he move into the bullpen somehow to help the bullpen?
Well, Ryan tweeted it today. They haven't announced a starter for Thursday, which would have been Hendricks. So,
and I think it's possible they don't. To have Hendricks go against the Braves would be rough. It seems like it'd be rough. I mean, you think back to last year, his worst outing, even when he did have a really good season, was the Braves at Wrigley.
Yeah,
it was like an 8-0 game, I think, something like that.
So, this is where I'm at now. I think we as a fan base, I try my best to represent the fan base as well as I can on this show. I am at a point where I think you have to be done with Hendricks when Wicks comes back. Now, if Wicks doesn't come back for another week or two or whatever it is, like, yeah, I think you have to use him because your bullpen has been so much better with Wisniewski and Brown in there, right? But I've reached my point with Hendricks. I understand he was good against the Pirates in Pittsburgh, but Friday it was just I don't care what he says in postgame about, only one or two bad pitches, whatever. Like, this has always been the thing with him. Like, he is always going to pitch to contact. Maybe if Nico and Dansby are out there, maybe a few more plays were made. I don't know, man.
It's like a few balls found grass for sure during a start, but like when
it was a mixed bag of like the BABIP gods and just him not being good.
But you do run that risk when you're a contact pitcher.
Yeah,
without elite velocity or
sure.
When you pitch the way he does.
I guess what I'm saying is that I've reached my point. I said mid-May back in April if things continue to still be bad.
It is mid-May.
I did say and it is mid-May.
It's the end of mid-May.
So like I don't take back anything I said. I don't take back anything I said in April about like giving this guy the leash. But I think we have reached it, man. Like it just sucks.
Here's one,
and you have some guys. You have some guys that can pitch. Now the only thing that sucks about it in general, it's not only because he's a guy who's been here for a long time, but also, you're losing a guy who could eat some innings, but the thing is he's not eating innings for you in a good way.
Well, here's the thing. It's not like completely a counterpoint, but this is just like kind of in Council's mind how looking at the situation. This is actually Jared got the quote for us the other day. This is Jared. This is Craig Counsell on Hendricks. I think we have to consider everything. I think he was asked about if he's going to stay a starter, like is a bullpen move possible. I think we have to consider everything. I think that's what we should do, and then consider the situation that we're in with the rest of the pitching. It's definitely something over the next couple of days that we're assessing for sure. I think the off day provides us some space here and kind of thinking about it, and I do think taking some time to think about it is the right thing to do as well. Again, we're in a spot where we need Kyle's innings right now. We've got injury issues, right? I think that's part of this conversation for sure, but we have to also consider everything we've got to do better. They're not blind to the fact that Kyle Hendricks is struggling. Definitely not Craig Counsell. Like, I don't think, while he respects what Kyle Hendricks has done in his career, and obviously seeing it from Milwaukee, like he's been pretty up close to it for a lot of that career, he doesn't have like that complete personal relationship with Kyle where he's like, I can't cut this leash because of what he means to this organization. Like, I don't think Counsell has that as much as he does respect what he's done in the past. I don't think he has that. I don't think he's unwilling to take him out of the rotation, but he does make the point of that. I think they have 8 pitchers on the IL right now. Yeah. And that's a lot of bullpen guys. Jordan Wicks is still out. Like, they do have those injury issues. And so they do need Kyle Hendricks' innings, and whether that's, I don't know exactly when Jordan Wicks is going to come back. I don't think that's made clear yet. He's getting closer. He's taking steps, but it hasn't been made clear yet. Could they move Hendricks to the bullpen then? A month ago, I had said no, and we were kind of really going through the start of it because of the fact that he just had relieved one time in his career, I think is what we said. But now we're a month later, and it's outside of one start in Pittsburgh, it really hasn't changed. But I will say, to the point of potentially moving into the bullpen, there have been those spurts. I think even over the weekend, he had like a couple innings to start the game where he was pitching pretty well. It's like, can you translate that into the bullpen? We know he doesn't have like elite stuff that you may want out of bullpen guys, but can he translate that into a couple innings out of the bullpen 2, maybe 3 times a week? Maybe not 3 times a week, but a couple times a week in multiple spurts versus trying to get 5-6 innings out of him. That's something they're going to have to consider too, right? Again, it's like, I don't know, because we haven't seen outside of one start, we haven't really seen good Kyle Hendricks this year. I don't know if that fixes him. I don't know what the answer is for that, but that's potentially a route they may have to go on, especially when Wicks is ready to come off the IL. But for now, it's like what Council said. They just have so many pitchers out. They need to cover innings somehow.
And that's why I'm actually surprised that he's probably not going to start on Thursday because of the situation.
Tough team, though.
Well, will it be Wesneski or Brown? Like, I don't know, man.
Getting closer to June 1st. That's all I'm saying. Hey, I didn't expect the chat today to say trade Assad, but they did. And
you all got mad at me for not giving him enough respect. Jeez.
Quick shout out today to former Cubs catcher Michael Barrett. 18 years ago today, he gave us the greatest moment in crosstown baseball history. A.J. Pierzynski ran over him at the plate on the south side, smacked his hand on home plate, and then Michael Barrett punched him in the jaw. And it was the peak of crosstown baseball in this city. It was one of the greatest moments in Chicago sports history. It was that much fun because both sides thought their guy won the fight, and it's when both teams thought they had a chance to be division champs. They were both trying to ramp up and be a good team, right? That was it.
The Cubs were bad that year.
Yeah, they ended up being bad, but they thought they were still a good team. At that point, they still thought they were a good team.
Okay. You would remember more. I was a kid.
That was 2006?
I don't know.
It was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
2006. They ended up being
07 and 08, they won the division.
They ended up being a very bad team that year.
Yeah, they did. But they were on the right. They won the next 2 years.
They did.
That's fair. That's fair. The White Sox were literally coming off the World Series.
That was end of Dusty.
Yeah, it was
Dusty
Dusty's
was the
last year
manager.
was 06.
And Lou came along, and people were like, "Oh, Lou's going to be the guy to spark this team," and he was for a little while.
Isn't that the same year where when there was back at Wrigley, the Sox pounded the Cubs and it led to people throwing a bunch of garbage on the field?
Yes, I think so. It's also the same year that.
Wait. What was your question about the garbage on the field?
The Cubs either blew a lead or something.
I was at a game on my birthday. I think it was either 2006 or 2007. Angel Pagan was thrown out at third. Lou Piniella went absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It was his first ejection.
That was his last big meltdown.
Trash all over the field.
The team was terrible in the thinking that because I think that's why people were throwing trash on the field because the Cubs were so bad.
Right. I can't remember if that was what
in 07 they made the playoffs.
Is that what sparked the Piniella?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be, a dragon?
The moment that
people were either asking for it or it had just happened.
I feel like the moment that Joey is saying is after Piniella did that, the Cubs took off. I don't remember.
Maybe.
I was so young. High school, whatever. I barely remember what I did a week ago.
Also, by the way, just really quick to clarify on Wicks, he did have throw that live BP over the weekend. I think that was Friday. He's gonna throw another bullpen at some point, but probably it could be today or tomorrow, in the coming days, whatever it was, and that he's likely to head out on a rehab assignment after that. So this Hendricks decision could be coming a little sooner.
Interesting.
Than not.
In closing,
big day tomorrow.
Yes, big day tomorrow. We got the watch along. You got the Braves coming to town. Baseball is weird. As angry as I was at the beginning of this podcast, I still feel good about this team, and I still feel good about even the next couple weeks. We said finish May at 500 or better, and that's a win, considering the injuries or whatever.
This podcast started with Cody ranting and the rains letting loose from the sky like Noah was going to float by on an ark. And it's ended with the sunshine is back out and all is good. Ryan will go back to the ballpark tomorrow. Corey and Brennan will sit here in studio with Cody and I as we watch the game live here on YouTube with you commenting.
Let's hope this rain didn't screw us out of our softball opener today.
And it's supposed to be the softball opener. Look at that. Thanks
Charlie
to
the Bacon guy.
Shout out to Charlie the Bacon guy with the jerseys. Yeah. Well, a championship team deserves a custom shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to play for the team tonight, but I'm absolutely begging.
Did you hear that? Oof.
Yeah. Well, let me finish.
Okay,
I'm begging to be the last guy off the bench. I don't really want to play. I think Carm has just been he's been at the end of last year, he's begging me to come out. And I'm I'll go hang out for vibes, but have you seen my baseball swing? It stinks.
The scooter or the electric bike?
I'm gonna ride the electric bike over there.
Oh, wow. See, so now that alone could intimidate the other team.
I doubt it.
You
but-
roll up on that electric bike. Look at the vibes on this guy. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast today. We appreciate you hanging out on the Cubs off day. Back again tomorrow. Like we said, there is no pregame show, but there is a watch along during the entire game, and then we will do a postgame show after that. So we will be on for a long time tomorrow. You might hear all kinds of stuff go on.
The haters will be sick, but the lovers will be happy.
That's right.
Yep.
Shout out to the lovers.
Thanks, guys.
Love.
See you tomorrow, and until tomorrow, don't forget, fly the W.